President Donald Trump and the Republican leadership entered office on a wave of campaign, pledges that promised swift economic relief and decisive foreign policy victories. Central among these was the refrain of promises made, promises kept, repeated ad nauseum during rallies and political advertisements. Yet, as these officials settle into power, a detailed review of both economic data and diplomatic developments reveals a notable discrepancy between those campaign assurances and the realities unfolding in consumer markets, the housing sector, and the international arena. During the 2024 presidential campaign, President Trump asserted that he would immediately bring prices down, starting on day one, even quipping that they would drop faster than the speed of Matt Gaetz's car when he's driving past a school. Such colourful language underscored the administration's commitment to reducing the cost of living. However, subsequent policy measures, particularly the imposition of tariffs on imported goods, have instead exerted upward pressure on prices for a range of essential products. Low. In the automobile market, analysts estimate that proposed tariffs on vehicles and components could inflate the average purchase price by $3,000, $10,000 to $10,000. Prospective car buyers today face the prospect of higher sticker prices on new models, while current owners are also absorbing increased costs for replacement parts. Repair shops have reported that tariffs affecting steel, aluminum, and other critical inputs have translated directly into steeper invoices for routine maintenance. In parallel, tariffs on Chinese imports threaten to raise the retail prices of smartphones, with the iPhone frequently cited as emblematic of this trend. Consumers may see device costs rise as manufacturers pass on additional duties levied at the border. The administration's intention to shift demand from foreign to domestic products has also altered the agricultural landscape. Dairy imports such as brie cheese from France and Grana Padano from Italy may become less competitive, prompting retailers and restaurants to source more heavily from US producers. Similarly, wine aficionados could encounter increased prices for European vintages, encouraging greater consumption of Washington State and California labels. While bolstering domestic industries is a stated objective, the immediate effect on grocery bills has been an uptick in costs for staple items. Egg prices illustrate the complexity of these market dynamics. In his early weeks in office, President Trump publicly decried soaring egg prices, stating that they had doubled and tripled, and warning that consumers might face shortages by Easter. Yet, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index recorded a price of $6.23 per dozen large eggs in March, an increase from $5.90 in February, and more than double the price from 1 year earlier. These figures underscore that, despite presidential assurances of plentiful and affordable supply, egg costs continue to climb rather than fall. On the housing front, President Trump has frequently invoked his real estate background to assure Americans that he would reduce the cost of new home construction by 30 to 50%. He attributed the high cost of building to excessive regulation, vowing regulatory reform to spur more affordable housing. In practice, however, tariffs on steel, lumber, and other building materials have driven up input costs, while secondary effects on labor availability and financing terms have hampered construction starts. One industry expert observed that the regulatory landscape remains uncertain, prompting investors, developers, and prospective buyers to hesitate on new projects. A hesitation that threatens to cascade through the housing market and limit inventory. The administration's foreign policy initiatives have likewise fallen short of campaign pledges. In interviews before taking office, President Trump declared that he would settle the war between Russia and Ukraine shortly after I win the presidency, even suggesting it could be resolved 12 seconds after the polls close, on election night. Since then, Oval Office meetings with President Volodymyr Zelensky reportedly included negotiations on a framework lacking binding security guarantees, an approach met with concern in Kyiv. Secretary of State Marco Rubio provided a public update, stating that US envoys had convened to begin outlining what it might take to end the war in a matter of days, not weeks, but warning that if the sides were incompatible, were done. President Trump has gone further, characterizing any party that complicates negotiations as a fools and horrible people, and suggesting the United States could simply take a passer on providing continued support. These recent developments echo a broader pattern of unmet commitments. Infrastructure bills intended to modernize highways and bridges have stalled. The anticipated surge in domestic manufacturing jobs has been slower to materialize. A comprehensive healthcare reform plan touted as a bigger and better for everyone never advanced. The border wall remains incomplete. And the promise to prosecute former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has not transpired. Each of these instances reflects a gap between political rhetoric and policy execution, raising questions about the administration's capacity or willingness to navigate constitutional constraints, legislative hurdles, and diplomatic realities. Moreover, observers have noted an emerging attempt by the administration to influence information flow on social media platforms. Officials have signaled a readiness to pressure technology companies to suppress voices they deem critical, a development with significant implications for independent media outlets and the preservation of open discourse. Journalists and civil liberties advocates caution that such leverage could undermine the free exchange of ideas essential to democratic accountability. In sum, the juxtaposition of campaign promises against empirical outcomes reveals a consistent shortfall. So, while the administration leveraged optimistic projections to galvanize support, the enactment of tariffs, coupled with broader policy choices, has coincided with rising consumer prices, constrained housing affordability, and stalled diplomatic breakthroughs. As these discrepancies accumulate, they underscore the challenge of translating electoral pledges into tangible results and highlight the importance of rigorous oversight and informed public engagement in the democratic process.